The story starts with our hero hugging someone and saying, "You're the last one now." He then smiled with confidence and used his powers to hold the man by the neck. The man said he was hiding skills that a regular fixer couldn't have. The hero started to ask him about the grimoire, a powerful book of magic. He said that the Deculin family wouldn't use all of these people only to chase down a single stray dog, and he called the family members scum who reproduce and spread like rabid dogs. The man said he didn't know how to utilize the grimoire, but the hero figured out that the book must be quite valuable because they were chasing him so hard over such a long distance. The stranger told him to give him the grimoire right away. In exchange, he said he would help him get back to work as a fixer, even calling him a hunting dog to make him feel bad. The hero laughed at this offer and wondered what power a simple fixer-manager could have to make such promises. He then used his magic to hoist him up and asked if he had anything else to say before he died. Out of nowhere, a third individual showed up, a man who radiated a strong aura of malevolent energy, and calmly said hello to them. The new person said who he was, Baharan van Deculin, the head of the Deculin, the magical family that rules the eastern continent. The manager of the fixer was shocked. This was the first time he had met the head of the family in person. Even though he had been their fixer for decades, Baharan was a legendary character who was known as the strongest sorcerer in the family's history. The hero thought to himself, what kind of man could this be? Baharan told the hero to give him the grimoire and promised they would chat later. The hero, on the other hand, was harsh and shocking, telling him that he was pissing him off and accused him of trying to take his hard-earned goods. Baharan laughed sarcastically at this rudeness. The hero wished he had eaten the wyvern he had seen earlier while he had the chance. Now he knew that the aura coming from the family head was too strong for him to handle. Baharan told the hero that the easiest thing to do would be to murder him and take the grimoire by force, but he also gave him another choice. He told him to give him the book and go back to working for Deculin. In exchange, he would forget all of his sins. Baharan admired the hero's fighting skills and said he wished he had known about them sooner. He was amazed that a dirty rodent from the slums could learn the simple skills of fixers and improve them to such a high level. He then tried to get him to join by showing him a bright future and asking how high a sharp blade like him could fly if Deculin's wings carried him. He also asked what greatness he could bring to the family name. He ended his offer by asking him to stand by his side and make history with him. The hero accepted Baharan's offer, but only if he agreed to one condition. The hero smiled slyly and told Baharan that he had to give him his seat as the leader of the household before they could talk about anything else. He then looked at Baharan and said, "I saw you fight." He then asked Baharan how many people had perished due to the magic technique he was still using on the tired fixer manager. Baharan got mad at the hero for this challenge and told him that this was the way he decided to play and that it may kill him. The hero recognized that this was definitely accurate, but he reacted with an even larger challenge, encouraging Baharan to measure the gap in power between them himself. Baharan took on the challenge and said he would punish him first. Baharan started to assault, but the hero had a hard time avoiding it. He was shocked when another magic circle came out of nowhere in front of him before he could regain his breath. Baharan reminded the hero about his prior challenge, saying that some things don't need to be tested, like the huge gap in power between them. He realized that this was the genuine power of the head of the Deculin family, a power that allowed no room for exploitation. He then started another attack that led to a huge explosion. Baharan asked the hero if he had changed his mind about negotiating through the smoke. He said he would let him live, but only just. The hero asked Baharan whether he would take him back if he bent his head and went back to the shadow of Deculin. But he swiftly answered his own query with a determined shout, "No way." The hero stood up with blood on his face and said he was sick of eating dog chow. He sent out a storm of blue lightning and spoke loudly, asking who would be happy to become a dog again, since a fancy collar and a big house don't change the reality that they are dogs. Baharan called him a fool and got ready to use a lot of power. The hero was shocked to see a huge storm of purple lightning cover the sky. At that moment he understood something. He now figured out why he had glanced up at the sky that day and seen the wyvern flying around with no restrictions. He looked because he was in pain and wanted to be free so much. The hero was able to hold strong even though the attack was too much. Baharan stared at him with respect and said he thought the attack would kill him. Then he inquired whether he could feel the difference in their power now. The hero, still standing, admitted that Baharan's power was nasty, Baharan inquired whether he was ready to talk properly now and told him to finish the story he had started but not finished. The hero thought Baharan wanted him to be a fixer again, but Baharan corrected him and said that he didn't mean the job of a fixer. Baharan made an unexpected and shocking offer. The hero may become the head of one of the families who worked with the Deculan family. This proposition stunned the hero. He pondered about how the Deculan family, which was almost as powerful as the emperor, was offering him the head of one of its faithful households. The hero looked at the grimoire he had and questioned Baharan whether this book was his purpose from the start. Baharan said that the hero was still underestimating himself and that he wanted the hero himself more than the grimoire. Baharan observed that the hero was thinking about the offer, and he promised that if he accepted it, all of his past faults would be forgiven and he would only have glory with the Deculan family. But out of the blue, the hero started to put all of his energy into the grimoire in order to destroy it. Baharan was shocked and asked him what he was doing. The hero jokingly said that he could have it once it went to ash. Baharan told the hero that he would never die in peace. The hero, on the other hand, told him to be quiet and listen. The hero said that fixers don't worry about money, but he stole the grimoire because it was worth a lot. He then told Baharan the awful tale behind it, wondering if he knew that the young Deculan master had used forbidden magic from this book to eat the fixers. That scoundrel had eaten the hero's friends, and the Deculan family hid the atrocity. Baharan asked in a rude way if this was all for revenge, saying that the lives of stray dogs are not worth much. The hero said that revenge was not the only reason he did it. He needed money to make his friends' fantasies come true. He also wanted to make sure he wouldn't have to live in a doghouse again after he retired. Baharan said he had heard the hero's last words after curing everything. He used his last assault, the blue flame of Deculan, an eternal fire that never goes out, and warned the hero to be sorry for his choice in this hell. The hero resisted the concept of regret as the flames consumed him. He yelled that death was better than being Deculan's dog again, and he felt free for the first time in a long time. He thought about how he didn't regret anything, and that if he were born again, he would take his freedom and have his real retribution. After then, he was shocked by what happened. It was like time had stopped and everything froze. The grimoire showed up and shone brightly. Then something weird happened. The hero was at a different place, wondering how he had lived after being so close to dying in a fire. He thought something was wrong, and the place looked like it did in the past. He remembered that he was in the black and white zone, where he had to fight to stay alive every day before he became a fixer. He understood the amazing truth. He had traveled back in time. He was confused about what was going on. He was confident he had gone back in time when he saw that he was in his younger body, but he saw that a certain mark was remained on his body. He figured out that the grimoire had done something to bring this back, even if he didn't know how. He remembered that the leader of the Deculan family came to get the book himself, which showed how significant it was. The hero thought it was a wonderful idea to go back in time. No matter what, he made sure it wasn't a dream. The things that happened appeared too real, and the bad stench of sewage in the room made him sure he was alive. He was hopeful that this was a chance to perform very well, no matter what he did. But he was curious about what great success meant. He remembered that he had a dream, and so did his friends. That dream was the same thing that made him decide to retire. He started to remember talking to a friend named Aster. Aster told him that they were just homeless people in the black and white zone who didn't have clothes, food, or an education. She asked him which of these things was the worst for him. The hero said that not having food was the worst, but Aster told him he was wrong. He seemed annoyed at how foolish the answer was, and then said that not getting an education was the most painful thing. They wouldn't have ended up in the clutches of the lords who enslaved them if they had been properly schooled and educated. After he retired, Aster told everyone about his dream, to construct a library where everyone, no matter how rich, powerful, or male or female, could read books for free. The hero wanted to go even farther than that. He intended to build a tall spire for no other reason than that he liked tall things. He wanted to put every book he could find in this tower. The most crucial thing he would do is put the Deculan family's secret handbook at the door to the first level so that anyone could access it, even people who lived in the black and white zone, noblemen's sons, or even the butchers in the market. He was overjoyed just thinking about how everyone will be able to observe those techniques, which the Deculan family thought were more valuable than their own life. He said that the challenge was how to get those skills, but he chose to let his future self deal with it. His main purpose was to tell as many people as possible about the mysteries of Deculan, which would cause them to completely fall apart. A strong kick to his face suddenly woke him up from his dreams. A mad young man came up to him and yelled at him for not staying where he was told. Then he kicked him over and over again. The hero was stunned at first by this sudden attack, but he instantly remembered all the fights he had fought as a fixer. He was able to stop one of the kicks, which astonished the assailant. The hero told him in a calm voice that he had hit him 7 times. Then, with a piercing look, he said it was time to pay him back 10 times. The hero got ready to fight back, and the assailant looked scared. There was a loud sound of bones cracking. The hero was shocked to see that his own hand was broken and wondered how that happened. The other boy became mad and yelled at him for hitting someone older than him, calling him crazy. The hero was able to hit the young man, but he threw him to the ground and kept hitting him. The hero's body hurt, but his heart hurt even more. The hero saw his chance and tripped the adversary, who fell into a sewage canal. The hero thought this was a chance to get away. The attacker got up and coughed, then asked the hero where he thought he was going. The hero said he wasn't running away. What he was really doing was a tactical retreat. He chose to recall the face of the person who attacked him and to preserve the 57 blows he suffered in his heart. This reminded him that he was a skilled fixer who didn't know how to give up. He realized how horrible things were once he moved. He hurt his wrist by throwing only 1 blow, which made him feel bad about how weak his body was right now. He sat down feeling defeated and decided that he had to forget about the tower for now and focus on fixing and strengthening his frail physique. A little white-haired boy suddenly showed up in front of him and inquired whether he was hungry. The hero asked the child if he knew him, and the child said no. The hero looked closely at the child's attire. Even though they were worn out, they were pricey at first, so he figured that he was probably the kid of a noble who had lost a fight for power and ran away here. He thought of him as a ticking time bomb that should be avoided. The boy said his name was Damien and that his mother's name was Bianca. The hero thought he was learning stuff he shouldn't know, so he questioned Damien if he was a little slow to catch on. Damien then told him in a naive way that his mother was deceased, and the hero felt bad for him. He said he didn't have a father either, therefore he was the winner, and then he tried to get him to leave. The hero thought it would be better to get away from this ticking time bomb before it became worse, but Damien said he would go with him when he tried to escape. The hero said no and thought about beating him to make him leave. Damien saw that the hero's wrist was damaged and inquired whether it hurt. Then he said he would help. He put his hand over the hero's hand, and a strong healing light appeared. The hero was amazed. He knew right once that this was not just a normal healed hand. He knew the hidden technique. It was the light of healing, a particular skill that the fallen aristocratic Blandu family had that the Deculin family destroyed. The hero's instincts as an experienced fixer yelled. He knew he had just gotten himself into a very bad and dangerous situation. He wondered why a kid from the Blandu family was here, as their family was reported to be doing well at this point in time. As Damien wondered if he was calling him, he thought the name Damien over and over again. He then remembered something important, someone from the Blandu family with eyes of a different color. He knew who the child in front of him was. Damien von Blandu, the crazy monster that doesn't die even when he is killed, was the monster of Blandu. The hero was so shocked that he couldn't understand what was going on. His memories brought him back to a time when he was still working as a fixer, before he got sick. He remembered a mission the Deculin family had sent him on to the Blandu family's territory. At that point, he and his friends were complaining about being sent on a mission that the Blandu family should have been able to handle on their own. One of the friends told them that there were rumors about a monster in the Blandu territories that had killed scores of people. They thought that maybe this monster was a ghoul or something like that. But what he saw wasn't a ghoul. He watched a person ripping another person apart. Damien was this person. He was smiling like crazy while he fought, and he kept using the Blandu family's healing magic to keep going. He was a crazy butcher who wouldn't die even after he died. The memory ends, and the hero comes back to the present, where Damien is sitting in front of him, an innocent youngster who is interested in ants. The hero is still in disbelief because he can't believe that the child in front of him is the same person as the cruel killer he remembers. He wonders why the Lord's only son, who is also the direct heir of the Blandu family, is in such a bad condition. Damien talks about food to get him to stop thinking. He informs him with excitement that they should eat, referencing his mother who said that eating good keeps you from being sick, and then he says that the hero is sick because he doesn't eat. The hero agrees with what he says, but he doesn't like how he talks. He asks him whether he has any cash. Damien takes out a bag full of gold coins and asks if this is what he meant. The hero smiles and nods after a short pause, then suddenly says, "We're friends now." He throws his arm around the shocked Damien and adds, "If you say we're friends, then we are. Friends share what they have." He then pulls him along with excitement to look for stuff to eat. Damien asks his new friend what he has to contribute, and the hero says he has a friend, which is Damien. The hero feels better after eating and taking a bath. He observes Damien walking around the house, which looks like it's above the restaurant. Damien says that this is the first time he's ever been to a facility like this because he usually slept outside. Damien suddenly says that he doesn't have a dad. The hero makes a joke about having a father, and they start a childish fight that ends with the hero asking why they are trying to win this. After that, he asks him about his mom. Damien glances around and says in a sweet voice that she isn't here. The hero chooses to take a better look at the problem. The hero wants to know how long Damien has been alone. Damien considers for a bit and then says that he has slept 10 times since he ran away from home. The hero starts to think about this new piece of information. He wonders if Damien is a runaway and being chased, and if sleeping 10 times means that 10 days have gone by. Damien says that he can sleep twice a day, which includes naps, therefore he has slept 10 times. The hero figures out that Damien has been on the run for 3 or 4 days, but he becomes even more perplexed when Damien says he hasn't slept since he ran away, which makes him think he is utterly crazy from the start. The hero starts to think about what will happen next. He sees having Damien with him in the black and white zone as a chance to protect him and get to know the Blandu family better. This connection could help him later when he has to deal with the Deculin family again. Also, many of the books he needs to reach his goal are in the homes of nobility. But before he can make any long-term plans, he realizes he has to deal with the 57-layered animosity he has against the young man who hit him earlier. He informs Damien that he is going to lie down now and warns him not to bother him, otherwise there would be huge trouble. Damien asks whether he is going to practice breathing exercises, and the hero says yes. He then begs Damien to do the same when he is done, and Damien eagerly agrees. The hero starts to meditate and thinks about his old existence, when he used ordinary magical formulas that fixers gave him. These formulas had obvious bounds. To get around this, he had broken into a lot of noble homes and taken their skills, almost dying several times. He learnt a lot of secret techniques such as alchemy, body strengthening at night, spirit arts, and summoning. But he remembers that all of these methods weren't enough to protect him from the terrible power of the head of the Deculin family immediately before he died. So this time he chooses to learn the Deculin family's most important art, the art of the celestial source. It is the source of all Deculin techniques and can work with all kinds of mana, and thankfully he had memorized it for research in a previous existence. When he starts to use the breathing technique, he feels a lot of heat, like lava, moving through his body. He is surprised to see that there are impurities in his mana circuits. He uses a secret and mysterious power called the mana shower to get rid of them. This is a method that only elite mages from royal families employed to clean up their own bloodline. When the process is over, he wakes up and wonders how long it has been. More significantly, he sees that his mana circuits are now clear and his mana is cleaner than it has ever been, maybe even cleaner than it was in his last life. Even though he has made a lot of progress, he still thinks that beating Deculin is impossible, even if he were born 100 times. But his prospects have gotten better, and he is a man who never gives up, even when the odds are almost insurmountable. Damien wakes up the next day to find that his hair has turned brown, which amazes him. The hero had changed Damien's attire and hair color to platinum blonde, so that the Blandu family wouldn't know who he was. Damien asks his pal what they will do now that the last step of the disguise is done. The hero says that they are going to break some heads. The young man who had hit the hero before was shocked to see him again while he was strolling after a nap. This time, though, the hero was clean and with another youngster. He angrily questioned him where he had been and why he looked so clean. Then he saw his friend Damien, who seemed like he had money because of the way he was dressed. The hero suddenly hit him hard, knocking him to the ground. He then calmly told him that remembering his face was enough, and that his score with him would start at 123 hits. 2 young males in the area heard a noise and went to see what was going on. A lot of other young people showed around. Everyone was shocked to see the youngest and what he was up to. The hero grinned a little. He knew all the faces and wanted to see how far he could go this time. A fight broke out, and he beat each of them up one by one. Damien was amazed by his new friend's speed and strength as the hero fought better than anyone else, hitting his opponents with fists that were surrounded by magical energy. Damien learnt from the hero that in these kinds of situations, he should say that what he sees is super cool, and he did so with sparkling eyes. Damien walked up to the first young man and said he could help him become better. The hero then seized him and asked how many times he had been hit. He took up a stick from the ground and smacked the youngster hard on the butt with it, asking him again how many times he had hit him so far. But the scared young man stuttered and lost track of the number. The hero then turned to his companion Damien and said, "It's your turn." Damien was happy to use the healing touch on the hurt young man who was crying in anguish and fear and asking him to stop. The hero reminded him that he still had to get 20 more hits before his score was final. This made the young man cry and worry even more, calling the hero and Damien devils. One of the young guys came up to the hero after the discipline session and remarked, "Good work, sir." The hero felt good about himself. Even for him, it was hard to give out 2,000 hits at a pace of 100 hits each individual. The tired teens requested if they may go, and the hero let them, but one of them said slowly that this was their home and they couldn't go. The hero's face changed, and he claimed this wasn't a big deal. When the kids heard this threat, they instantly agreed to leave and ran away from home. The hero feared he was suddenly homeless as he watched them run away, but all of a sudden he felt someone coming up behind him. This individual moved quickly and quietly and had the unmistakable air of an experienced fixer. The hero came to the conclusion that they were most likely being chased. He thinks the Blandu family discovered him faster than he thought they would, and he's worried because he doesn't have much mana left after the struggle and the purification process he went through. He knows that he can't use spells or fight right now, but he remembers that he is a skilled fixer. He remembers that even in his prior existence, he never had a lot of magic and always had to deal with hard situations, so this isn't new to him. He starts to collect all of his remaining mana. He squeezes the mana he has collected, thinking it will be enough for one strike. He is aware that he just has one chance to get out of this. When the pursuer gets there, he turns out to be an old guy who calls Damien young master. The man identifies himself as Alfred and looks quite relieved to have found Damien, saying that he had been very worried and couldn't sleep. Damien screams that he will never go back and that Alfred must murder him first. The butler tries to calm him down and get him to come back, but the hero realizes that Damien's departure from his family was just a little boy running away from home. Alfred, the Blandu family's butler, says he's sorry about the scene and introduces himself to the hero. Aster introduces himself as the hero. Alfred sees that young Master Damien really likes Aster and asks him to come with them to the Blandu family house. The hero is dubious of their motives because it's a well-known fact that noble families don't like commoners, but he can't figure out why they invited him. He agrees to go because it fits with his initial intention to get to know the Blandu family, who control the entry to the city of Hazen, where the Zenith Academy and its amazing library are. He knows that going to their library will help him reach his ambition of building a magnificent library. He agrees to go, thinking of it as merely a small diversion on the way to his goal. The hero turns to Damien and enthusiastically says they should go see if the Blandu family's cuisine is nice. They get to the beautiful Blandu family mansion. The hero thinks this is his first formal trip to the Blandu estate. Alfred says it's late and they should go to bed. Then he gives them to a maid named Lassie. Damien gets scared as Lassie tries to take him away and starts screaming and apologizing to her. There is a sound of a door opening in another part of the mansion. Someone, who seems to be the owner of the estate, asks Alfred where Damien is. The butler says he was found in the 8 black and white zone and is already on his way back. It turns out to be a woman, and she uses magic to attack angrily, which produces an explosion. She asks urgently if Damien is okay and promises to do terrible things if anything bad has happened to him. Alfred encourages her to calm down and listen to what he has to say. The woman feels much better after hearing the report. Alfred thinks to himself that this is good for the lady and good for anyone who might have hurt the young master. He remembers that this woman used to be called the Blood Witch. He feels it's a good thing that things ended this way because she is so fierce, especially when it comes to her kid. The woman is grateful for all of his hard work. Alfred tells her he was simply doing his job, but he also says that something strange is going on, which makes her curious. Alfred tells about Damien's new friend, Aster. He tells the woman that Aster knew he was coming and got ready for him even before he showed up. He goes on to say that when they met, Aster was clutching a mana bullet, which is a kind of compressed magic that is ready to be used in an attack. The woman is impressed and says that Aster's talent is amazing for a youngster from the black and white zone. Alfred asks the woman for a favor because of this skill. Later, Alfred stands in front of the hero and makes him an unexpected offer to be his successor. Alfred appears sure that the hero will agree. He tells him that this chance for a rat from the black and white zone means getting money and respect, but the hero is rude and says he isn't interested. Alfred is shocked and questions if he heard him right. Damien breaks into the scene by asking what the term his friend spoke meant. The hero gently says no to the offer, saying how grateful he is to be thought of as the butler's successor. But he wants things to stay the way they are today. Alfred thinks this refusal is arrogant because the hero is a bright orphan who learnt magic on his own and thinks of himself as a great person. Then he starts to talk down to the hero, saying that he knows him because he was born into a normal household and was arrogant when he was younger until he realized how big the world was. The hero's face suggests that he is annoyed since he believes this discourse is silly. Alfred keeps talking, though, and says that the hero might think he can do anything and take over the world, but that's not how things operate. Alfred compares the hero to goblins that live in the valleys, which are creatures that grow up in a safe place and don't know how dangerous the world really is. The hero attempts to keep his fury in check. In his head, the hero says that if he were a goblin, he would probably be a wyvern by now, which shows that he is not weak or knave. Alfred gets more angry and says that he will personally show the hero how big and scary the world is because he doesn't know anything. Alfred opens the doors to a big room where a lot of young men who are training to be butlers are standing in queue to meet him. Alfred asks the hero what he thinks, saying that these young guys are all around his age and are talented members of the Blandu family. He can probably feel their ability. The hero watches them calmly and realizes to himself that Blandu's skills are very good. He says it's hard to realize they are simply teens because their presence fills the whole room. But as he stares into their eyes, he thinks cynically, there were goblins here, which means that they are nothing compared to what he has been through. Alfred asks again if he will take his offer, saying that he can shine even more than these kids. Alfred gets furious when the hero says he doesn't like to shine. One of the trainees, Winster, walks forward and talks to the chief butler. With a mocking smile, Winster tells Alfred that if this boy had really felt anything, he would have taken his offer, and because he said no, it suggests he doesn't yet understand how valuable the job is or how talented the people in the hall are. Winster offers to show the hero a little bit of actual magic by suggesting they have a training duel. Alfred thinks the notion is pompous, yet he goes along with it. Alfred says that the hero should fight Winster quickly. The hero knows that he has become a problem for them. He knows that people think of him as a lucky stray dog that got inside. The hero agrees to the duel, but Alfred lets him pick his own opponents. The hero points to Winster and 4 other trainees. He says he will fight all 5 of them at once, which surprises them. He laughs at them and says they should just die if they are terrified. Alfred laughs and says that this is the kind of energy his successor should have, but he tells him that what he said could be seen as an insult to the Blandu family and asks if he is ready to take responsibility. The man says yes, he is. Alfred says that the duel must last exactly 1 minute for the hero. He will get a present if he succeeds. He will be responsible for what he says if he fails. The hero understands that being held accountable implies having to become the next chief butler, and he sees this as Alfred's way of trying to bind him, but he agrees to the requirements. One of the coaches tells Alfred that he is worried the duel might be too risky as they get ready for it. Alfred says that the risk is what makes it worth it, because he thinks that the only way for the youngster to grow is to break his intransigence. The trainer of the 5 trainees is apprehensive. He is afraid that hurting the young master's guest could terminate his career. Damien, on the other hand, was watching the scene with the maid Lassie. The trainer goes up to him and begs him to stop the head butler, saying that his companion is in a lot of danger. But Damien is really excited, which makes the trainer even more scared. Lassie steps in and reminds Damien that if he gets in the way, his mother will yell at him, so Damien holds back his wrath. Alfred tells the trainer, who is unsure, to start the combat. The trainer believes to himself that he did his best to say no, but he has to follow orders. Lassie informs Damien that she will be back soon and tells him not to get involved. Damien smiles and says he got it. The trainer goes over the rules of the duel, calling it a turn-based spar. He laughs to himself because he thinks it's more than just a spar. It's a battle to the death. The trainer says that the duel is an annihilation and will go on until one side gives up. He also says that he can halt the match at any time. Winster makes fun of the hero by calling him a stray dog who is lucky and promises to crush him and show his true self. The trainer yells, "Duel," as one of the opponents runs to fight the hero. The hero attacks Winster as soon as the duel starts, hitting him hard and directly in the chest, which leaves him shocked and in pain. Winster shouts because he can't believe what occurred. The hero then says that he will be the one to teach the lessons now. He holds a mana bullet in his palm and says that the first lesson is that the tiny peppers are the hottest. Winster saw the strategy as just a simple way to change mana, which doesn't work in battle. The hero gives his second lesson, which is not to judge people too quickly, and then he fires the mana bullet. The bullet explodes with a lot of power, throwing the 5 trainees into the air. The hero punches Winster in the face and says that the world is big and bitter. He says he will teach the trainees who lost these teachings and advises them to study them carefully. Winster yells at him and calls him crazy, saying that what he is doing is not magic. The hero uses somatic magic, which is a method that combines mana with hand-to-hand combat to beat his enemies. The trainer is completely shocked by the power he sees. Alfred watches the hero beat his enemies and thinks about how he did it. He realizes that the mana bullet he used was compressed at least 3 or 4 times. He thinks that if the bullet had hit him directly when they first met, it would have been bad. He admires how the hero can naturally regulate mana. He feels the manner the hero beat his enemies was scary. Alfred suddenly feels Lady Bianca's presence and is shocked. Lady Bianca shows up with Lassie, which gives the trainer optimism that she has come to save them. The lady wonders what occurred, and Alfred nervously says that they were doing a simple test. The woman looks at the mess and the hurt trainees on the floor and asks sarcastically if this is what he considers a test. She tells Alfred to get the trainees together and take them away for now. Then she told Damien to go back to his room. She tells the hero to go back to his room, and he thinks to himself, what a shame. The lady calls for the trainer, Renbet, and fires him with only one word. She looks at Alfred and says she knows what he wants, but this time he went too far. Alfred says he's sorry, confesses he got angry, and is ready to take whatever punishment. The woman shifts the subject and begs for more information about what transpired in the duel, asking whether Damien had aided him. Alfred says no, saying that the hero was just really proficient at fighting. Alfred says he's sorry for being distracted and explains that the hero utilized the mana bullet again in this duel, but this time he compressed it 3 or 4 more times. The lady figures out that this means the hero has great control over mana, and she admits that she was really surprised, even though she didn't show it. She is amazed and wonders if he really did beat 5 trainees with just 1 mana bullet. Alfred also says that he beat them by himself, pointing out that even very skilled mages have a hard time using raw mana instead of spells. Lady Bianca asks Alfred what he told the boy, and he says that he turned it down right away. The lady is intrigued by this refusal and thinks that she needs to take another look at Aster, so she tells him to come to her. Lady Bianca calls the hero to meet her. She greets him and encourages him to sit down while Damien sits next to her with his mouth full of food. The hero says he heard she called him, and the lady agrees but says there is something else they need to talk about first. She gives him a box and says that Alfred told her he would give him a gift. The hero remembers that Alfred promised him a gift if he could last for a minute, but he didn't think the lady would make it so quickly. She tells him to open the box. The hero finds a high-quality elixir inside the box. This is a rare item that the Blandu family only gives to new members of the top 5 magical squads. The hero is wary because he knows that gifts like these always come with strings attached. Lady Bianca calms him down by saying that the elixir is a prize for aiding Damien in the black and white zone and an apology for the fight. The hero asks her directly if drinking this elixir will make him part of the Blandu family, and she firmly says no. After that, he asks her if it is poisoned, and she tells him it isn't. He asks for one last assurance that there are no conditions, and the woman says yes, asking him to take it without worry. The hero says thank you and takes the gift. The hero feels the elixir is an unexpected benefit, but the lady informs him she has another gift for him. He says to himself, I knew it. The lady offers him a scholarship to go to the academy with Damien. She says that Damien was meant to attend school last year, but he didn't want to, so they put it off. She never thought he would run away from home to avoid going to the academy. The woman says she is asking for his help because Damien looks up to him. Damien gladly agrees, stating he would be happy to attend if his friend was with him. The hero understands that Lady Bianca is in a tough spot. She has no other means to change his thinking, so making him go might make him run away again. The hero thinks this offer is a decent one. Going to the academy is excellent, and having friends from school is really helpful in a world that relies on family and regional relationships. He thinks the offer is great, but he doesn't want to get involved in the Blandu family's business. He assures her that he will think about it for now, and she agrees and asks him to let her know what he decides. She asks him why he turned down Alfred's offer to be his successor before he goes. The hero gives the lady a weird look and says, "My knees are too precious to me." This leaves her confused. When Alfred hears this answer, he is startled and impressed by how brave the youngster is.